Welcome to the Trumpet of the last few days. I'm Stanley Farrar.
And I'm Robert Farrar.
And I'm Joshua Farrar. And you're tuning in to the Colgate Comedy Hour.
Recently, we took and had the unique benefit of having a Supreme Court justice that was extremely left-wing depart from this earth. And that has taken and made the left lose their minds. Videos of people screaming in their cars. What gets me is the one that they like to really focus on the podcast. She's on the wrong side of the car, so she's probably not even in this country.
Either that or she's lying and she's not actually right.
Yeah. But cussing RBG for taking him dying.
As if
she has any control over that. She's had cancer for ages.
And she's been senile for a significant period of time, too. She should have retired years ago.
Well, it could have been argued she was never... Yeah. It could be argued, though, that she was never mentally competent.
Yeah. But then again...
Liberalism is a mental disorder.
Well, the Democrats have never suggested any Supreme Court justice who is mentally competent.
True. At least not in my lifetime.
Not in living memory has this ever occurred.
But let's face it, not all the ones that the Republicans have taken and nominated have been mentally competent either.
True.
Because after all, Roberts was put on the court by a Republican.
And he went against his own opinion.
Yes.
He went against his own opinion?
DACA.
Yes, he took... For DACA, he took, when the initial opinion came down, he wrote the argument for the minority and argued why the president had the right to do what he did and that DACA should not be continued.
Oh, no.
Then when it came back to the courts...
Pretty sure that was whether or not DACA was constitutional in the first place. That he wrote.
Yeah, well, he's in his argument, he stated that the DACA was not constitutional. But when it came back to the court, he upheld it, saying that the precedent states that it's constitutional, therefore it's constitutional. Not that it was a bad precedent; it shouldn't have been done in the first place.
Smells like a bribe.
And he decided that the president needed a compelling reason to get rid of DACA. Other than, the fact that it was mandated by the president, it should be able to be undone by the president.
Mm-hmm.
Just, mulch the Constitution.
That's one of the problems then people take and set precedent above the law.
Which brings us
Much like your Pepsi commercial.
Yes.
Which brings us to, who do you think they're going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Or try to replace? We don't know if they'll succeed.
So, if it was a Democrat who was doing the suggesting, then my money would be on the guy who's been presiding over the Oof, why am I forgetting the case now? Hmm. Ah, the one who's been presiding over that, man, I just lost it again.
Well, I can say this
The case where
much:
the
we
guy
know it's not
was,
going to be a guy at all.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but
the guy who was presiding over the case where the guy was basically framed by the FBI, or at least set up to entrapment.
not Roger Stone, but the other man.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget what his name was. I'm blanking on it.
Roger Stone's
I know who you.
case, but the judge was presiding over that.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. If it was if it was the Democrats, that's what my money would be on. You can have no
Because he
better.
doesn't care what the law says.
Yeah, you can have no better Democrat Supreme Court justice than ones who cheat and lie and steal to get their way.
But
Well, we know
currently,
that we know it's going to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
and the two current favorites seem to be Amy Coney Barrett and a woman named Lagoa. I don't remember her first name.
And I've never heard of either of them, as is standard.
Well, they're both Catholic. One of which seems to be a little more extreme toward the Catholic end than the other. And one of them is a staunch traditionalist, and the other one on her Wikipedia says that she is a traditionalist and textualist, but a firm believer in let the ruling stand, which is a contradiction. You can't be a textualist and hold to let the ruling stand. Because that's basically putting precedent as supreme. It's what Roberts did.
Mm-hmm.
If she gets elected, we have another Roberts on the court.
Which is disastrous.
Well, the other woman is Puerto Rican, who has shown herself to be extremely constitutional. Okay, okay. You're right. Not Puerto Rican, Cuban, but she's Cuban and has shown herself to be very constitutional.
And when I say that when I say that Amy Coney Barrett is a little more to the Catholic end, she went so far in an interview as to say that she needed to always confide in the Pope before she made a ruling.
That the Pope's position superseded that of the law.
So neither of these are good options.
No, that was the person who is a staunch believer in let the judgment stand.
Oh, okay.
It's the same person. That's Amy Coney.
No, the other one says the law's the law, and it's not up to the courts to legislate from the bench.
I am the law.
What was that?
Just a Judge Dredd reference that.
I am the law.
Yeah.
Well, if they take and nominate the Cuban, they run into an interesting position. Because now, what does the Democrat Party do when faced with having to try to crucify a woman who's also a minority and a Hispanic?
And one from a communist country at that.
Yeah.
They took that against her, though, because she's not a communist.
Yeah, she's anti-communist. But the very fact that they're bleeding the Latino vote right now. Do they dare crucify her?
Hard to
I
say.
think they do. they've always held it didn't matter if you're a minority if you don't agree with them.
Yeah. Aren't they also threatening to impeach the president if he nominates one?
Or the attorney general.
Yes.
Are
Or
they
both.
able to impeach someone who's already been impeached?
Not for the same
Yes.
offense. That's double jeopardy.
But the impeachment
But
hasn't
they
been
can
expunged.
they can
So he's already been impeached.
But they'd impeach him for something else. That's the thing.
Yeah, but what would that mean? What would it do? What's the point?
It wastes time. That's the point. The point is to just kill time till the election.
They're hoping that if they kill enough time that and prevent them from putting another judge in the Supreme Court before the election, then when they cheat in the election and it comes to the courts, they will have a better chance of winning.
So the only move here is to
Or at
ignore
least
them
getting a deadlock vote.
and put one in anyway. Call their bluff.
Yeah, pretty much.
But they're taking and insisting on them following what they call the McConnell rule, which is actually the Biden rule.
Mm-hmm.
Because Biden's the one that put it up in the first place during the Bush administration, that stating that they shouldn't nominate a Supreme Court justice during an election.
Is that a written
But let the
rule,
people decide
or is
in the
it
election.
It's
or is it a
tradition is
suggestion?
precedent.
Tradition means nothing.
It's just tradition. It's not written down anywhere. and McConnell followed it
When it was politically
when it was politically advantageous at the end of the Obama administration.
Mm-hmm.
But the key to it is it's only ever been enforced and ever suggested when one party held the presidency. It's twice, yes, and only when one party held the presidency and the other party held the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Never when the same party controlled both. Every time that somebody's been nominated for the Supreme Court by a president with him having his party in the Senate, it's gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there has been suggestions that by people in the Senate that there is no requirement that the Senate actually review the president's recommendation if they're already if they're already in the federal courts, because they've already been reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've already been vetted.
They've already been vetted. So technically speaking, and as they pointed out, being they've already been vetted and are already on the federal courts, if they take and choose, they can bring them straight to vote.
Which, by the way, the president's supposed to
And
announce
either
his
the
pick on Saturday.
Thought it was supposed to be today.
No, it's Saturday. Which today is
But,
Friday. That's when we're recording this, by the way.
May very well be Saturday my time by the time they get around to it.
May very well be. But if they do that, it shortcuts the system and they have no ability to try to argue against them. It has to come down to voting against them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can shortcut the process from 44 days down to a week.
Well, they've already
or
said
less.
they plan on giving them 3 to 4 days. That's as much time as they've got.
And if they've already been vetted, and both these two women that we're discussing have been, because both are on the federal courts, they don't have to do all the committees. They can just go just jump straight to the issue.
Mm-hmm.
It could be taken by the end of the week. There could be a new Supreme Court justice.
It's weird.
And when they do,
it's weird.
The Democrats are going to lose their mind. It's weird seeing the politics. What?
It's weird seeing politicians be efficient for once.
They should have never done Kavanaugh the way they did him.
Yeah.
Because this is why the Republicans in the Senate are acting this way.
Backlash. That's rare to get from the Republican Party, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's very rare.
Well,
But they're getting
years,
backlash.
The Republicans are steadily being replaced by people with backbones, so it's not all that surprising.
Yeah, but they haven't completely gotten completely gotten people with a backbone.
Like, I remember when the last election, first time I had ever heard about Ted Cruz. He didn't get elected, granted, but it was the first time I had ever heard about him. And my opinion of the guy has done nothing but go up since he didn't get elected, which is weird.
Oh. Well, when you take and you think about it, the concept behind them standing up, they've always been spineless jellyfish. In fact, Lindsey Graham was one of the 8 that that took and stood in Bush's way so much, siding with McCain.
Yeah.
He's always jellyfished his way around, and he's one of the ones saying, let's just bring it straight to a vote. He said they shouldn't have treated Kavanaugh the way they did. It's time to hit back.
Yeah.
And for Lindsey Graham, to actually have a spine just amazes me. And he's up for re-election.
That might be why, then.
That very well might be why.
So, to take it back to the whole cheating subject, believe it or not, a lot of the Democrats are starting to step back on the whole mail-in voting.
Well, it doesn't help any when CNN shows a truck dump and its entire load of mail on a parking lot.
Including how many ballots?
We don't know. They're technically supposed to be sealed.
We don't know on that truck. We know another location in Pennsylvania. They found in a ditch by the side of the road a mail bag full of ballots.
Mm-hmm.
In another location, they found out the postal workers were opening ballots and then throwing away the ones for 9 of them. They threw away.
9 of them they threw away. 7 of which were for Trump.
Yes. So they're actually cheating and being caught at it. And if the Democrats keep pushing it, there's already many documented cases. After all, they had to throw out an entire election in New Jersey for cheating.
Mm-hmm.
For their mail-in ballots that they're asking to lose in the courts.
Yeah.
And since they know this, they're kind of starting to ease off. They also know that the majority of their base vote is more likely to vote by mail-in vote, and that's the easiest way to get it disqualified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it disqualifies the mail-in vote, then none of the mail-in votes count. So that means the state legislatures decide.
Well, no, not the entire thing. I mean, just mail-in votes in general, individually, are more likely to be.
Yeah,
found.
But some of the states are only doing mail-in votes, though.
Yeah, I know, but they won't throw out the entire thing necessarily.
They'll throw out all the ones for that are mail-in votes
Not necessarily.
because they can't take some. They can't go through and take some of them that are We'll count these, but we won't count these. They got to throw them all out.
No, they can count some and not count others. They've already done that.
Only if they're verified. And the states are removing all the restrictions that involve verification. If you don't have to sign it, and they're sending out ballots to everyone, then that means that that there are those who do not have the right to vote, are going to get ballots, are going to fill them out, are going to send them in, and there's no signature required, so they'll be counted. And that's what the courts will throw out. And they'll have to throw out them all, not just part of them. Now it's one thing, these absentee ballots where you ask for it, you send in a request, it's got your signature on it, it's stating you request that ballot, you get that ballot, and then you mail it in. That at least has some checks and balances. But most of these mail-in ballots have no checks and balances.
Yeah. Thing is, this is another situation where the media is actually hurting the party they support. Because they've spent all this time hyping up just whipping up terror about the coronavirus. And that led to the push for mail-in ballots. And now the politicians are realizing that the push for mail-in ballots is not a good idea. But it's too late. They're not going to be able to stop their base from voting mail-in.
And think about it, if they vote mail-in, and some of the states like New Jersey, that's all they plan on voting is mail-in. And if the courts declare that those are not valid because there's no checks and balances,
They have to
then now they have to either do a revote, completely do the election over, or hand it to the legislature of the state.
What happens if there's a revote? The side with no voter enthusiasm will not revote.
Yeah. Which have already shown that Biden has no supporters, have no voter enthusiasm.
Well, let's be honest. He's not exactly an attractive candidate right now. Or ever.
The Harris Biden ticket.
Where you've got the totalitarian and the senile old man.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting combination. Oh, move it closer. I can't see the questions and the answers.
Did he actually say that?
He did ask them to close it. Yeah.
He didn't actually say he couldn't see the questions and answers. He just said, move it closer. I can't see it. I waved him in. And it was during a press conference. And in one interview, he picked up a picture of his family, and in the reflection in the glass, you could see the teleprompter with the questions and the answers in different colors. And every once in a while, you'll see him reach up and touch it and put his finger on his ear. And that's a tell for somebody who's using an earpiece, who's to having somebody talking to them, telling them what to say.
On a side note, this may or may not be removed, but where I work, there is occasionally some people who like to play a game that they have deemed Get Down, Mr. President. And the circumstances of this game is someone fakes like they have an earpiece. And they have to do it stealthily, they have to do it quietly. And as people notice, they have to copy and repeat it. And the last person who doesn't gets tackled by everyone else in the group.
Wow.
And of course, they have to yell, "Get down, Mr. President," as if they were Secret Service.
Oh, wow. Real maturity. But I could see that our current election, there are some that are going through and saying it's going to take months before we'll know who the president is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not going to take as long as they say, because it legally can't. They're saying it might take, 3 to 6 months?
Yeah.
And by the
3 to 6
Constitution,
months.
the electors have to meet in December to cast their vote.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which means that it's going to go to court.
yes. Or
unless it's an overwhelming landslide, it's going to go to court.
Or it's going to go to the House of Representatives, which is constitutionally where it's supposed to go. It's not supposed to go.
Maybe that's the whole goal in the first place, because they've got House majority.
No, you want it to go to the House if you're a Republican. Because the way it works, it's not an individual vote for each member. It's I forgot the term for it. But essentially,
vote by state.
Every single state has its own group, and they cast the ballot. So it's basically majority. It's the Electoral College fashion. It's the majority. Whoever holds the majority vote by state will win the president.
And
there's state delegations. That's what it's called. It's the state delegations.
Because there are more states with more Republican and representatives than there are Democrats. The Democrats are isolated in just a few states.
Mm-hmm. But those states have high populations.
And they have a high representation. But if they're taking and making it for the state, then that means that delegation, the California delegation, which sure it has a lot of delegates, will vote for their delegates,
and only get one vote.
Texas's representatives will vote for their state, and Arkansas's representatives will vote for their state, and Oklahoma's will vote for their state, and so on and so forth. And just because there's more Democrats than Republicans doesn't mean that the Democrats will win.
But that's only if the Electoral College fails to come to a conclusive vote, that it's thrown into the House of
Representatives.
Well, if the vote is completely where the courts say, "Hey, this isn't constitutional. What you're doing you can't do it this way," then it's going to throw the Electoral College into chaos.
Then it might go to the House, and if it goes to the House, then the president would probably win.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, most likely. And that's the last thing that Pelosi wants.
Which is why they want somebody on the Supreme Court. They really didn't want Ruth Bader Ginsburg to die.
Yeah. Because Roberts could swing either way. They didn't know which direction he would swing.
Mm-hmm.
And the liberals on the court have been able to get Roberts to take and give in to them to keep the peace many times.
But if she's
gone, there's nobody to convince him.
Well, now if he does go to the other side, it'll be a tie vote 4-4, and it'll likely get thrown into the House of Representatives.
Yeah. Deadlock court. It's an interesting circumstance that we live in now.
The general prediction is there's going to be blood in the streets either way.
No, there's already.
Oh, they've said there's going to be blood in the streets if anybody's elected but Biden.
And if Biden gets
Biden's
elected,
already
there'll
declared
probably
that.
be blood in the streets.
Well, yeah, but he claims there won't be if he's elected. So basically, he's threatening the country. You either vote for me or there'll be blood in the streets.
Doesn't that technically qualify as terrorism?
Yes.
Yeah, it's terroristic threatening, yes.
Well, since it's to an entire country, wouldn't that technically be sedition?
Yeah, I guess it would be. So that would. So I guess it's seditious action. So they could try him and hang him.
But they won't.
Oh, firing squad. I'm sorry. Yeah, they won't.
So what was our third topic?
This is a little off. Not sure we had one. Though it is kind of interesting that somebody actually suggested we should take and move 4 divisions of troops into Taiwan.
That would be interesting. That would also prevent us from reacting too slowly to potential Chinese invasion.
It would, but China said it will invade if the U.S. does that.
Which they make a lot of threats that they don't follow up on.
Yeah.
That's true. 4 divisions is still a lot.
Yeah, it's any place from 40 to 100,000 men. But if it's like when they threatened to nuke Guam, the president said they can try their best, but they'll never succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We'll blow their planes right out of the air.
They'll have problems if they do it. They'll have big problems.
He said that if they try it, not if they do it. He says they'd never succeed in doing it. But yeah, China actually threatened to nuke us. Which I think is a lot of wind.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of threats coming, and nothing happened. China did not threaten to nuke Taiwan; it threatened to bomb Taiwan. Different.
He said they threatened to nuke Guam.
It threatened Guam.
No, they didn't threaten to nuke Guam. They threatened to bomb Guam.
All the reports I saw they threatened to nuke Guam.
I watched the same video you did. They said they threatened to bomb Guam, and he did not say that he
well,
was shooting planes
they're
over the
not.
air. He said they'd have big problems.
They're not really mutually exclusive there, considering nukes are in fact bombs. So if you say you're going to bomb something, that does not necessarily mean you're not going to nuke something.
But there would be a massive.
No, I grant you that
if they threatened to nuke Guam, there would be a major media backlash because nukes are not tolerated in the media world.
Of course they are, as long as they're not.
No, there wouldn't. That's right. Right there is the key. Nukes are totally acceptable as long as they're not ours.
They would still use it for fear mongering, and it would be plastered all over the news.
No, they would have covered it up.
And
no, they didn't with Russia.
Well,
because they know that they get ratings when people panic, and they love rating.
They could take and use it to take and as a negative against the president. See, he's taking and picking a fight with a nuclear powered nation, and they're ready to use their nukes on us.
That's what they did throughout the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did throughout the Reagan administration, and as Reagan took and kept rejecting their SALT treaties.
The thing is, the media doesn't realize that we're all kind of just numb to nuclear scare. They have nukes. Okay, we have nukes. Okay, so
It's nothing nuke.
It's like
nothing nuke there.
the policy during the Cold War was to have enough nuclear weapons for mutual destruction, so nobody would dare use them.
Mm-hmm.
Sound policy.
But will it work with China? Because China doesn't care about its people.
You don't have to have as many for that. You just need one. Straight onto their government building.
Right onto Beijing.
Well, yeah. But actually, I would advise against bombing them directly. I would suggest is bombing in the upper atmosphere and using an EMP pulse to take out their weapons and all their electronics.
North Korea them.
How's Big Brother supposed to work without CCTV camera?
Well, like most Big Brothers, he's got to go out
That's
and get a
it.
job.
Big Brother can't work. Big Brother can't work without the CCTV cameras, and they're terrified of their own people.
They are absolutely terrified, especially with the whole
So
Mongolia and Tibet situations, right?
And see if you take and blind their electronics, they're not working anymore. Come in and airdrop firearms to the people. They will be so busy fighting themselves that we don't have to worry about them.
Well, airdrop firearms and analog radio.
Yeah.
Things that don't require... Well, satellite radios might not be a good thing. Then if the Chinese get a hold of it, they tap into a American satellite.
No, you want to take in basically CB radios. Something that's low tech that they're not going to gain anything from getting, but to where the different cells can communicate with each other.
Yeah.
But I would say better just don't send them radios at all. Just drop them weapons. Let them figure out how to talk to each other themselves.
But they
because
out.
They don't. The populace does not have to pick the weapons up. The very fact of America doing that would make the communist country panic, and they would automatically turn on their people.
Yeah, but the people need some way to defend themselves, and a rebellion.
That's where the weapons come in.
A rebellion does not work without communication.
It's not about rebellion.
Yes,
You're misunderstanding the point.
No, it is about rebellion. That's the thing.
It's not about rebellion. That's the whole point. Is not to arm the people who've already proven they're basically sheep and are unwilling to fight for themselves. The point is to scare the communists into thinking they might.
But no. It's already proven that they don't care about their people. So if they turn on their people, who cares? Unless
if they turn on their people, they lose their fighting power for a potential war. They lose their manpower.
The point of the strategy was not to make a war easier. It was to prevent a ground war. That was his stated goal.
It would prevent a ground war because they wouldn't be able to have a ground war.
But
they can't focus on us and focus on killing their own people at the same time.
they would not slaughter everyone.
Tiananmen Square says different.
No, but
They
you
didn't kill
taken
everyone from Tiananmen Square. They just killed a lot. Well, too many anyway.
thing about it is that was what the world watching. They did that at Tiananmen Square with a black zone. They can't see. You saw what they're doing in Hong Kong. They locked down Hong Kong because they're afraid of the independence movement in Hong Kong.
But,
And so if they can't see them, they can't track them, they don't know what's going on, there may be a rebellion spring up. There may not be.
It doesn't
But
really
the very
matter.
fact that they're
The point of it would have already been
it
served.
doesn't matter because they suspect a rebellion, so they'll automatically focus on Hong Kong, Tibet, Mongolia, any place that they think people will rise up to overthrow them.
But as long
And they can't
their people
they
are
can't
still,
invade Taiwan that way.
as long as their people are still willing to be sheep, they can't. It's not that easy for them to just collapse.
Oh, I'm not saying they'll collapse, but the thing is, it forces them to have to restructure internally. They can't focus externally,
That's a
and
delay
that
tactic.
enables us to buy us time.
That's a delay tactic.
Delays
It's
are
not a
important.
prevention, and you set this up as a prevention scenario.
I don't remember setting it up as a prevention scenario, did I?
I don't remember ever hearing you set it up as a prevention scenario.
I set it up as a tactic to win.
It would win, but just landing the nuke would win too. So, and it'd be a lot faster.
No, I don't
a lot
think it would.
easier.
I don't think it would win. I think you can take a nuke. I don't think. I think you can nuke Beijing, and it wouldn't take and stop the war. Just somebody else would step up and replace them.
Power vacuum.
If you take and take away their ability to see, arm everybody else. Yeah, many are sheep and they're not going to do anything. But there are some wolves in that sheep too. But it doesn't matter. It slows them down. They're having to focus internally, and we can hit from the outside then. Right. We can hit from the outside in then, while they're focusing internally, and basically disembowel them. Because India would love a chance to attack.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure there's plenty in Hong Kong that would take and use those weapons too.
Definitely.
And I might selectively smuggle in radios, but I want the radios to go to the right people's hands, and then they would have to have cryptologic ability, and that's now you're getting expense.
It would be better for them to do their own fighting than for us to do the fighting.
True. But we would have to be the ones to take and silence them. Take and make it where they'd be enabled to do it. Because they're not going to do it in their current state. And there's pretty strong indications that their army, their youth as a whole, are kind of a pampered group in the first place. Kind of like ours, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think ours are still more pampered, because they grew up in prosperity.
But the attack plans, there's certain they can't nuke us if we cut out their electronics.
Yeah.
They're using a lot of technology they don't know how to don't know how to make. That it's beyond their capabilities, so they don't understand it. And the people who do know how to understand it are either in other countries or have already fallen crossways with the current government and are locked up.
It may be wise to start calling it here. I'm starting to drift, and I'm losing focus.
Yeah. Probably would be a good place to go ahead and call it. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, or didn't enjoy, or just flat found that we're a good way to kill time, we like to encourage you to take and touch the subscribe button, take and pass it on and share it with your friends. And if we really take and go on.
And if you want to sell us out to the Chinese government, spread it around. They'll find it. Go on.
Thumbs up for like, thumbs down for dislike, and leave a comment. We'll be happy to argue with you if you disagree. Have a good day.